Forget about Edinburgh being maroon. The entire country of Scotland is maroon because Hearts have finished match day 1 top of the Scottish Premiership. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. And no, it wasn't the 4-0 win I was predicting, but it was a 2-0 win. It was a clean sheet, and it was enough to take Hearts straight to the top of the league. So for everybody that was doubting this performance, for everybody that was doubting this win, get it right up you. And for the Aberdeen fans, I told you so. Enjoy your place in the bottom six, because that's where you're going to finish this season, is what it is. But let's talk about the game. So Hearts, under Derek McInnes, Tony Blooms came out. He said that Hearts are going to win the league. Hearts are going to be a force in the Champions League. All this crazy stuff. Do I believe it? No. Do I think Hearts are going to win the league? No. Do I hope we can win the league in the next decade? Absolutely. That would be amazing. But for now, it's all about finishing third. It's all about getting back into Europe. And they took one step closer to doing that today with a 2-0 win. It's a baby step. It's match day 1. It's week 1. It's nothing to get carried away about. Performance was good in the first half. Performance, in my opinion, not so good in the second half. And honestly, I was beginning to worry. I thought Aberdeen started the second half the better of the two teams. Yenge had a gilt-edge opportunity to make it 1-1. And if that goes in, it could entirely change the game. If that goes in, Hearts maybe don't win this game. Maybe Aberdeen win this game. We'll never know. But thankfully, Yenge just can't seem to finish. He puts it wide, and Hearts did get their second goal. And from that point out, it was kind of comfortable. Aberdeen, they pushed forward. They got a couple of balls into the box, had a couple of chances. Sander Clark made a few saves, but I think the second goal really did kill off this game. But yeah, second half, Hearts didn't start great. Aberdeen were the better team for the first 10 minutes, and had that goal went in from Yenge, could have been a different story. But let's talk about the first half, because Hearts were great. Hearts started fast, attacking Aberdeen, really positive play. Braga looked really good. Every time he got the ball, his feet work, his trickery, he was causing issues for the entire Aberdeen back line, and we were passing it about well. Harry Milne was getting forward. He was always being a threat. Devlin being a constant engine in the middle of the park. And also, the game was just very physical. Very, very physical, especially at the beginning. And it was feisty. We're getting a lot of challenges, a lot of slide tackles as well, which I want to see, because tackling kind of has died in Scottish football. Craig Halkett later on in the game got a yellow card for sliding in and winning the ball. Makes you think that tackling is dead, especially slide tackling. But at the beginning, we were seeing bodies flying. We were seeing people, lounging in for tackles, and it was pretty good. The referee was letting them get away with stuff. So I enjoyed that. I did like the start, the physicality aspect. It was good. So, Hearts took lead early, 10 minutes in. I think they took a deserved lead, because it was pretty much all Hearts, I think, for the first half. And Aberdeen had pretty much, I think, one chance through Yenge, but Hearts got the breakthrough. Braga, he was on the right-hand side, and he sent Neuster the wrong way. I mean, he sent him on his arse. Snapped his ankles. Neuster lands on his bum. He gets his pants pulled down. Then Braga goes past him, puts a cross into the box where McEntee gets the header. It bounces off, takes a deflection of an Aberdeen man. I then believe Devlin shoots in with the rebound, which I think hits off McEntee. The ball then rolls out towards Harry Milne, who puts a cross into the 6-yard box, looking to pick out a maroon shirt, but he picks out a white shirt. However, it doesn't really matter, because it's Graham Shinnie, and he puts it into the back of his own net to make it 1-0 Hearts. So, unfortunate for Shinnie. A bit of luck here for Hearts, but I think the attacking play, it was coming. Hearts were looking good, and when you put a ball into an area like that, then you can get a lucky deflection. And for Hearts, it was a lucky deflection. For Aberdeen, it was an unlucky deflection. But, it was good play for Hearts. They were peppering the Aberdeen box, and when you put a ball into that area, you're giving yourself a chance, whether it's your own player that gets on it, or whether it's the opposition player. But yeah, a bit fortunate, but I thought it was deserved to go 1-0 in at the break there. We then break forward again, and Harry Milne gets on the ball outside the box, tight angle, just outside edge of the box, and it's a decent angle, to be fair, and he hits a shot outside of the boot, and it just curls away it's like an outswinger. It curls away from the top corner, but then at the last minute it just curls back and it hits the top of the crossbar, like the edge of the post crossbar combination, top right of it. What a strike this was. I know it's only match day 1. Had this went in though, it would have been obviously up to this point goal of the season. But I can't imagine there would have been that many better goals than this. It was a fantastic strike from Harry Milne, and just a shame it didn't go in. But at this point, I mean, Aberdeen were under it. They were under pressure. It was all Hearts. Aberdeen did get the ball forward, cross into the box. Yenge flicks a leg at it. It hits his thigh, and it somehow made its way to the post of Hearts. Sander Clark didn't know much about it, hit the post and then went into Sander Clark's hands. So Hearts a wee bit fortunate there to get away with that one, but Aberdeen would have been extremely fortunate had they scored it. So it's just one of those things, but that's pretty much all Aberdeen had to offer in that first half. I mean, it was all Hearts. And then you talk about the Harry Milne almost, super goal. We got a super goal just before half-time, and what a goal it was from Lawrence Shankland. And it was pretty much the same position. It was almost an identical position now. Different kind of shot. He hits it inside the boot and he curls it. Just curls it right into the top corner. But unfortunately, it did come from a free kick, and Craig Halkett had the last touch. He headed it on to Shankland, and he was marginally offside. So it was the correct decision to rule this out. Halkett was offside, but it's sad. It's unfortunate because Shankland's not offside, and Shankland scored an absolute peachy goal. It's just that Halkett was slightly offside when he initially got the first touch with the header. So I feel bad for Shankland because it is a great goal. Is it one of his best goals for Hearts? Yeah, probably. But in the end, it's not going to count because it was ruled off for offside, and that's the correct decision. But I tell you what, went into the break 1-0, and I think that was unfair on Hearts. I think we deserved at least that 2-goal lead, but it was only 1-0, and 1-0's a dangerous scoreline. You're not safe, you're one mistake away, or one moment of brilliance away from being level. So I was so happy with the first half performance. And I don't think that the game should have been 1-0. I think we could have put Aberdeen out of sight in the first half, but it wasn't to be. Second half, Hearts did not get off to a good start at all. And Aberdeen were the brighter team. They were the better team. They were creating more. They were getting forward more. They were getting into the Hearts box more, having more possession. Yeah, Aberdeen just started the second half better than Hearts did. They had a free kick on the right-hand side. It was swung in, and Yenge just gets away from all the Hearts defenders, and he's got basically an open net from must be about 10 yards out, and he's put it wide. And he's put it wide by quite a distance. So, yeah, he's tried to just place it into the bottom-hand corner, I believe, and he's got it horribly wrong. So that was really poor for Yenge. I know he's our new summer signing, but he's going to need to improve because this does not look like a guy that should be leading the line for Aberdeen. Now, I understand they have Sokler. He's currently injured. Maybe he'll be the number one when he comes back, but I'm looking at Nisbet, who left. I'm looking at Papagay, who has left. I'm looking at Daba, who they got on loan, the Palestinian, and they couldn't keep him. He left just like Nisbet left. Aberdeen's firepower up front, it's pretty much non-existent. Outside of Yenge and Sokler, they don't have much, and I'm not a big fan of Sokler, to be honest. I don't think he's that good. And based on what we've seen from Yenge today, it doesn't look like he's going to be the answer either. So I think this Aberdeen team will struggle. I think there's a lack of goals in this team. First of all, I think they'll struggle to create that many chances. Going forward, I don't think they're special. I don't think they have that many creative players. And I don't think they have a man up front to really finish the chances that they do get. I think Aberdeen are in trouble. I have predicted them to finish 7th. I know a lot of people are saying that's a crazy prediction. There's no way they'll finish outside the top 6, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to stand by that based on what I've seen. And I'm saying that even though Aberdeen, I'm giving them a bit of credit because I think they started the second half a lot better than we did. But overall, I'm just looking at this Aberdeen team and they've got time. Look, they can bring in players. There's no doubt about it. But I just look at this squad. It doesn't impress me. Jimmy Thielen as a manager doesn't impress me. Outside of the Scottish Cup win, which let's be honest, was a bit of a fluke. Celtic dominated that. And Celtic were shite, right? Celtic weren't good. But Aberdeen offered absolutely nothing. Aberdeen offered absolutely nothing in that game. until they got the equaliser, which was a very lucky equaliser, mistake for Kasper Schmeichel. But outside of that cup win and the 11-game start to the season, Jimmy Thielen's record as Aberdeen manager has been fucking atrocious. It really has. And if he keeps it up, I don't think he'll be in a job. You factor in they've got a guaranteed 6 league phase games to play in the Europa League or Conference League. Also, they've got 2 playoffs to play potentially, so 2 sets of playoff ties. That's another 4 games. The likelihood is Aberdeen will have 10 games in Europe. You factor, and I think they'll struggle without those 10 games. I'm not basing them outside the top 6 because they've got 10 games in Europe. I'm basing them outside the top 6 because I think there's 6 teams better in Scotland. But you factor in those 10 games, the 4 playoff games and the 6 league phase games. This Aberdeen team will struggle unless they make a lot of signings between now and the end of the window. People don't want to hear it, but here, I'll be here at the end of the season to tell you I told you so. Right, so Yenge missed that. That was bad. And then I gave the referee a bit of credit because I did like the physicality that we seen earlier in the game. But in the 53rd minute, Halkett got booked for literally sliding in and winning the ball. And at this point, I just thought, well, I mean, it's a bit hypocritical because I'm going to say tackling is dead, even though I said there was a lot of good tackles to begin the game. But maybe the referee was just willing to let that stuff go. And then he thought by the time we get into the second half, he was going to start, clamping down on tackles like this. But I thought it was disappointing that Halkett got booked for this. It was a good tackle. And there was, for me, it wasn't even a foul. But he got a yellow card. Very frustrating because up until this point, I think we'd seen quite a lot of good tackling, and it was a kind of physical game. But whatever, referee decided that he wanted to give him a yellow. I can't change his mind. I can't stop him. I can't do anything at the end of the day. 70th minute, McInnes made 4 substitutions. Forrest, Wilson, Kizaridis and Swinewender came on. And I like this because it just showed that he was willing to change things up, and making 4 subs at the exact same time. You don't often see that, and it worked because a couple minutes later we got a free kick. Harry Milne whipped it in. I think it was Neuster for Aberdeen who flicked it on, but unfortunately all he did was flick it in towards the back post, and we had Stuart Findlay running in, putting his body on the line. He beat Mitov to the ball, got his head on it. Mitov made himself big, outstretched his arms, but couldn't make the save, and Stuart Findlay got the goal. He made it 2-0 at the back post. Well, there was a VAR check for offside, but this one was on. It was close, but this one was on. So I think both VAR decisions were definitely correct. Shankland goal, unfortunately, was offside, despite being a great strike. And this goal was onside. So, yeah, 2 VAR calls in terms of offsides here and checking to see if they were on or off. And I think VAR got them 100% spot on tonight. So, congratulations. But yeah, that was 2-0 Hearts. And from this point onwards, Hearts just seen out the game. I mean, Aberdeen, like I said, they did have a couple of chances, and Sander Clark did have to make a few saves. But also Hearts, on a few occasions, that they broke forward, and had they just been a little bit more clinical, had they played a better final ball, Hearts could have maybe added. But maybe on another day, Aberdeen could have got a goal as well. So I think it's possible Aberdeen could have got a consolation, but I also see Hearts could have got a third. So, to me, I think 2-0 was probably the fair scoreline in the end. I think that was enough between the teams to allow a 2-0 win. So, I was happy with it. I'm not too happy with the second half performance. I would have liked a bit more, especially when we were pretty poor in the opening, like 10-15, and had Aberdeen scored that Yenge chance, which they 100% should have, by the way. No doubt about it. They should have scored that. And had they scored that, then all of a sudden, the game's 1-1. Aberdeen, much better start to the second half. They would have the momentum, and who knows what happens. This could be a game that we potentially don't win, but thankfully we did. So I'm happy with that. If we look at the stats, the stats would suggest a pretty even game, even though I thought it was pretty straightforward for Hearts, but the stats would suggest that, maybe it wasn't that way, because expected goals, Hearts were 0.96, Aberdeen 1.55, so Aberdeen had more expected goals than Hearts. Shots were 13-11 in favour of Hearts. Shots on target were 3-1 in favour of Hearts. Shots inside the box were 10-8 in favour of Hearts. Both teams hit the woodwork once. Both teams had 2 total big chances. Touches in the opposition box were 27 to 17 in favour of Hearts. Final third entries 67 to 37 in favour of Hearts, and 3 offsides to Aberdeen's 0 for Hearts. So when you look at the total touches in the opposition box and the final entries into the the final third, to me that's where Hearts were obviously creating more and getting forward more and having more opportunities. So, but yeah, expected goals, Aberdeen 1.55. That Yengi goal, that should have been in. There's no doubt about it. That Yengi, he had the best chance of the game and he missed it. So, yeah, he had to do better, and we'll see what happens. But we've got some news here coming out. I've got some players speaking. I believe we do. So we'll start with the Hearts winner, goal scorer for the second goal, Stuart Finlay. He was speaking to Sky Sports. He said, quote, "The second goal was always going to be pivotal, and after that the tension eased a bit. The boys saw it out really well and really professionally. You saw how we came out of the blocks and pressed aggressively. The manager wants Tynecastle to be a difficult place to come. He said to us, the only thing now is Dundee United next week." End of quote. So focusing straight on the Dundee United game. Like to see it. Hopefully can win that. Move 6 points to the top of the table. Stay in first place. In terms of starting aggressively, yeah, I liked what we've seen from Hearts. I mean, they wouldn't let Aberdeen breathe, closing them down, putting in tackles, and I definitely could sense that aggressiveness, and that's what Tynecastle should be. It should be a place where you don't get a chance to be on the ball. You don't get time. You don't get an opportunity to think. We should be pressing them down, being aggressive, being physical, putting them into tackles, knowing that, making them know that they're coming in for a fight, coming into a war. So I think Derek McInnes will be good at implementing that. You cannot deny that his teams in the past, Kilmarnock and Aberdeen, they've done that. They've made their home grounds difficult places to go to, and I expect Derek McInnes to make Tynecastle the most difficult place to go to in the league. So I'm happy with what I've seen. Second half was a little bit underwhelming, first 10-15 minutes, but I mean overall I was happy with the performance. And yeah, we also seen the new signing for Hearts, Thomas Ben Magnuson, come on. He signed earlier today and he replaced Shankland with about 5 minutes to go. So it was nice to see him come on. I mean, as for Aberdeen, they made a bunch of substitutes as well. We had Sokler coming on, Polavara, Morris, Devlin. Devlin came on for Graham Shinney, but I mean they didn't really offer much. And yeah, it was just a poor game for Aberdeen. Graham Shinney, he had a spot in the game as well where he dives. Let's just call it out, man. He falls over trying to win a free kick from Devlin. He did not win it. In my opinion, he should have been booked, but he wasn't. To me, that's simulation. He should have been booked by the referee, but referee just decided not to give a free kick. I think Graham Shinney, I mean, he's one of those players where if he's in your team, you probably love him, because he is aggressive. He is one of those players that I think plays mind games and tries to rile other players up and will try and win decisions. I mean, he kind of does remind me of a less talented and less successful Scott Brown. And Scott Brown was the same. If Scott Brown's in your team, you love him. And if you're playing against Scott Brown, then you probably hate the guy. And I think that Shinney is similar in that level. But yeah, I'm just looking at Aberdeen here. I'm looking at their team and I think they need to make signings. It's just, I'm not impressed with what they've got there. I don't think their squad, honestly, I think they had a stronger squad before Jimmy Thielen took over. I think that they've regressed in terms of squad and personnel in their team. I don't rate many of the signings that Jimmy Thielen has brought in, and I think they've let better players go. I'm just looking at the 11. I'm looking at the subs that they've got. For me, Aberdeen will need to make a few signings, I think, just to even have a chance of top 6 at this point, and if they want to do anything in Europe, and I hope they do. I know people think I hate Aberdeen, and I certainly don't. Certainly don't hate them, and I hope they do well in Europe, but based on what I've seen tonight, I'm not convinced. I don't see this team doing much. I don't see them really helping the coefficient at all, if I'm being honest, but who knows. I mean, listen, this was their first, I believe this is their first competitive game of the season. They weren't in the Premier Sports Cup. They haven't played any European matches so far, so look, they're still getting up to speed, but they're going to have to get up to speed, and they're going to have to do it quick because they were, they were off the pace tonight for sure. But we can hear from Derek McInnes. He was speaking with BBC Scotland. He says, quote, "We got the outcome we wanted. Every manager wants to get the first win as soon as possible, and I thought we were thoroughly deserving. We came out of the trap strongly, and they were probably worthy of probably going into half-time a couple of goals ahead. I don't think we were brilliant second half, but when we got the second goal, we managed the game brilliantly from there. It was a tough game, as you'd expect against Aberdeen. What we've got in there is a bunch of lads who are screaming to do well, fully motivated. We can play better, but it was a good start. We'll take the 3 points and move on." End of quote. And you know what? I agree with that. I think that's a fair reflection. Similar how to I feel. They came out the trap strongly. It was a really good start. I thought Hearts were deserving of going into the lead, at least with a 2-goal lead, maybe even a 3. But the second half wasn't great, and Aberdeen did come into the game a bit more, and it wasn't until Hearts got that second goal where you felt like the 3 points were going to be secured, because, yeah, at 1-0, it was a tricky game, and, it was nervy because you just didn't feel like Hearts were as good as they were in the first half, and Aberdeen had improved. So, honestly, I think that second half, the next goal could have came from either team. It could have been 2-0 Hearts, it could have been 1-1 Aberdeen. Neither would have surprised me, but thankfully from a Hearts perspective, it was 2-0, and at that point, they really did just see out the game. So, yeah, no word yet from Jimmy Thielen. Not too sure if he's going to do a post-match speech or interview. Haven't heard anything from him yet, so that's probably where we're going to end it. I mean, we'll cover him in the player ratings, I guess, if Jimmy Thielen speaks about the game. Any interesting quotes he's got, we'll talk about it then. But yeah, Hearts with the win, Hearts top of the table, and it's good to see. You just love to see it. Hearts then sitting atop with 3 points and 2 goals to the good in the goal difference department. So yeah, Hearts top, Aberdeen then bottom of the table. Unlucky for them. But that's going to do it, guys, for this match review. We'll be back later for player ratings, fans' reaction. It's pretty late, so maybe one more video tonight, and then the rest of them will be coming at you tomorrow morning. But that's going to do it. I'll catch you in the next one. Been Fog Football. Almost caught myself out there. But till next time, peace.